All right, and I'm back. Divine Naga Part 2 to the Starseeds. Who are the Starseeds? All right, let's continue with some information from the guardians and the founders to give a little bit of insight, a little bit more insight, technical insight to actually who we are and what our responsibility is here right now. In some of my book studies, I had done some, I had given some information explaining how the starseeds actually act as antibodies in the planetary body, because the planet is indeed a biological entity. It is a biological entity. It may not be humanoid, but it functions just like our bodies function. So the same way how if a threat was in our bodies, if we had some type of illness or disease, your body naturally will send out antibodies to rid itself of that threat. So what the controllers are calling global warming is actually the planet going through what our body would essentially go through when it's fighting a virus or an illness. Your body warms up and you get a fever. Okay? When your body warms up, and the backwards system, westernized medicine, will tell you take a Tylenol to kill the fever. You want to stop the fever. You never want to stop a fever. That fever is the results of the body sending out those antibodies, doing exactly what it needs to do in order to eradicate the threat. You never want to stop a fever. And isn't that terrible how when a baby receives their immunizations and the baby turns around and gets a fever, the doctors prescribe Tylenol? That's the exact opposite of what they're supposed to be doing, because what they are aware of is that they have introduced something foul into that baby, and that baby's immune system is kicking in. You are supposed to let that baby have that fever and let the antibodies fight through and eradicate the threat that they have introduced into that baby. But see, because they do it on purpose, they don't want the baby's immune system to fight back. They don't want the baby's immune system to strengthen and actually form more antibodies. What happens is when you introduce something like that, what they put in the different vaccinations, immunizations that they give to the baby, what happens naturally is if you let the antibodies come and fight, the antibodies automatically take a program. It's like they take a snapshot of what that virus or threat is, and it goes back and it creates stronger antibodies to fight that particular threat or that particular virus or disease. And they don't want you to do that. So if the body never has the opportunity to come out, the antibodies come out, then there's no reprinting. There's no way for the immune system to get stronger. Y'all understand what I just said? So Western medicine is in no way beneficial for anybody at all. They know exactly what they're doing with that nefarious agenda. Well, let's go ahead and press on. The crux of the matter is that for the negative aliens to be able to successfully carry out their nefarious agenda, they had to sabotage and damage the divine consciousness mechanic structure of Earth, with humanity as its consciousness conduit. So in other words, in order for them to do what they needed to do to the Earth, okay, in order to sabotage the Earth, they had to attack the humans on the planet, humanity on the planet, attack the consciousness of the planet. So this is why they keep us asleep, okay? This has led to a reversal consciousness structure with damage modifications procured on the various stargates, Earth consciousness grid, its ley lines and excitonal lines, the Earth core, which ordinarily interface with our morphogenic field, because we're all connected. We're connected to the planet. And the extent of such damage, sabotage, has escalated over years, going back at least 75,000 years when Atlantis and Lemuria were more in their prime. As a result, the frequency of vibration of the entire Earth humanity again never reached its requisite value to mock the threshold frequency of higher dimensional planes. That would be harmonic universe 2's fifth dimension to affect ascension of Earth and humanity. At the same time, the extent of damage of Earth consciousness mechanic structure became so critical as to merit intervention by the higher dimensional benevolent beings to aid the process of ascension for Earth humanity. So in other words, it got so bad to the point that they had to actually send in reinforcements. They had to send they had to send in, like, if you all understood why all of a sudden you're seeing so many crafts in the sky, it is because everybody through the multiverse, pretty much, like on this side of the multiverse, have come to see this play out, because this is a big deal what's happening on Earth, while everybody's still eating crab legs and drinking Henny. Y'all know I like to say that, because to me that's so debased. It's so lower dimensional, and I know that individuals have been put asleep, but for the most part, we are here to awaken humanity. And some folks look at this information, they see it, they read these posts, and they go right back to the bullshit. And that's what amazes me. They go right back to their mess, and it's like they could care less that they are in the most pivotal time. I'm talking about in the cosmos, not just on the planet, in the cosmos, and they could care less. They going on about their normal everyday activities. But hey, anyway, so at the same time, the extent of damage of Earth consciousness mechanic structures became so critical. Okay, we already read that. As a result, many benevolent higher dimensional beings of different soul and spirit forms of consciousness from many planets, galaxies, and even universes volunteered to join to form a coalition to help the Earth humanity's ascension process. Didn't I just say that? If y'all only knew how many battle planets have come here, how many battle planets are sitting right outside of the Earth's atmosphere, not only spectating, but participating. Everybody is coming to try and help humanity and the planet rid itself of this Borg virus that has been contained for the most part, because they put a quarantine over the planet and this particular quadrant. So now it's time to come and eradicate the threat, and this is what's going on. So this would entail incarnating on 3D Earth in various formats as to join the morphogenic field of Earth in order to upshift its collective frequency of vibration. Note that a planet is comprised of its constituent consciousness inhabitants. In other words, we are the Earth, which includes the pool of all beings who have currently incarnated or reincarnated on Earth to hold its collective frequency. The collective group of star people who were not originally from Earth and yet have currently incarnated on Earth for the mission of aiding Earth's humanity's ascension are referred to as the Starseeds. So this is what this particular video is about. This segment of videos is about, is identifying who the true Starseeds are, because everybody really thinks that they're Starseeds, and this is not to diminish anybody at all, but there's a difference between Starseeds, there's a difference between Earthseeds, and a difference between light workers. Okay, so let's talk about it right now. All right, everybody or anybody can be a light worker. Okay, not everybody is a starseed. Not everybody is an Earthseed, but Earthseeds and Starseeds and anybody who's awakening can be a light worker. Anybody who chooses to pick up their sword, anybody who chooses to pick up their lightsaber and fight on behalf of the planet and humanity is considered a light worker. But the starseeds are the ones who incarnated into the planet or reincarnated. Now, reincarnated starseed would be your ancestors, as I mentioned in the previous video. They would be your ancestors. And the reason why I say that is because they are the ones who have come before you. They have been here before. I remember when I was talking to my highest guidance, who I used to call my divine spirits, they were explaining to me that everybody is looking backwards. They keep going backwards. They're looking at they're having these recession sessions done where they're looking back at their past lives. I know a lot of people who do that. They look at the past lives, but my higher guidance kept telling me, tell them to stop looking back. The ones who are stuck here, who they keep looking back to, are still on the 4D astral plane. They have not figured out how to get out. You all need to be looking forward to your highest self. Stop looking back to the elders, because those are the ones who got stuck on the 4D plane. Now, the ones who came before them and got out are the ones who are reaching back now, reincarnating. They are the ones who you can communicate with when you raise your frequency and you speak to your highest self. That is your multidimensional self that made it out before they came and locked the planet down. You understand? So those are the ones who you seek information for, because they have the blueprint to how to get out. You can't ask an elder who came before you who is still stuck in the 4D astral plane. They're still stuck here. They're looking to you to figure out how to get y'all out of here. Okay? If that makes sense. And I know that's a little, it seems a little woo-woo, but you have to remember, we're talking about multidimensionality. Multidimensionality with parallel universes and dimensions and different timelines. So you have multidimensionality going up, multidimensionality going to the sides, parallel universes. So you can be in all these places all at the same time. But you need to be seeking information from your highest guidance. Okay? So let's move on. Although these starseeds do not share the past memories of Earth seeds and instead hold genetic memories of the future timelines and stations of identity, they are all of organic solar consciousness and are constituents or a constituent part of the whole, our eternal prime creator. Okay, so listen, genetic memory of future timelines. In other words, my higher guidance was telling me we have come back because we already know that you all, whatever it is that you did back in 2012, you destroyed yourself. So we're coming back from the future, coming back in order to help you change that, to switch timelines so now you won't destroy yourself and now you can get back on the evolutionary path, right? That's what they did. All right. So therefore, here they are united as one to participate and contribute to the same cause, one of spiritual humanitarian mission to help their fellow soul beings who all abide by the law of one. And in this respect, although all have the same underlying mission, the nature of their specific role and contribution are quite varied. However, their unified mission is to help humanity become free from this prison of unconsciousness and enslavement created by the negative aliens so it can properly ascend to the higher harmonic universes. Shout out to all the people who used to love to tell me everything wasn't a trap when I was here telling them legit all this stuff is a trap, like these are soul traps. They used to love to try and come back and counteract and debate and challenge the information whole time. Dum-dum, I'm here to try and help you get out. I incarnated to help you. But you want to challenge me because your ego don't believe what I say. Therefore, you dismiss the warnings. Okay, to your demise. Anyway, And the primary step is to free humanity from the bondage. You hear that? Free humanity from the bondage of false religions, which my first mission was to go to, guess who? The black Christians. You know why? Because they're the ones who are most caught up in those traps. Your mom and them, your grandmama them, your grandmama mama, all the way back are caught up in these religious traps and snares. And those were some of the first people that I was sent to. And the message that I kept getting was, tell my people to come out of her. Come out of her. Come out of those false religions. And yeah, I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of friends who are still stuck in that trap. They're still stuck in that bondage of false religion. Okay. It says, and the primary step is to free humanity from the bondage of false religions concocted by the negative aliens that effectively and unknowingly pay homage to a tyrant reptilian king that has proclaimed itself as the God who is wrathful, judgmental, and punishing, who will at the end of days condemn humanity to the fires of hell for humanity's karmic sins. And the thing about it is, these entities who pretend to be God, it's three of them. They pretend to be God, yet they keep you in a karmic cycle. They keep humanity in a karmic cycle so that they won't get out of this particular realm. You can't get out with staying in a karmic cycle. And they know this, so you keep looping. And the reason why they want to keep you here is because they use you. They utilize you as batteries. They need you to survive. So they need humanity to stay asleep. So they keep you in these karmic cycles where you cannot ascend out. Okay? This is why there has been such a concerted effort to awaken humanity from its slumber of ignorance with regard to this issue of religious hypocrisy and superstition that constitutes one of the primary chains that has plagued humanity to a status of ignorance and unconscious self-enslavement. And to successfully achieve humanity's freedom from bondage of self-enslavement, the mind control, mind-sliding programming of the negative aliens effectuated through holographic inserts should be exposed and erased. Mind control. Listen to what I'm about to say. Mind control takes place through religion by way of scriptures, which are scripts, and scripts are spells, black magic spells. When you say those scriptures over and over, and I had to come in, learn it, then unlearn it so that I can help individuals free themselves, right? I used to try to memorize the scriptures, and I knew that there was power in scriptures. Now, what I want to say, first of all, is a lot of the information was taken from the original Emerald Covenant. So there is information in there that can help free an individual, a soul that is genuinely seeking for source, for prime creator. There is a measure, there's a thread of truth in all of these religions and all of these religious doctrines. There's a measure of truth, and it's there for the seeker. It's kind of like a lifeline. So when you stumble upon it, and when you show effort, like your consciousness level begins to rise, it's almost as though that thread, like you grab a hold of that thread, and you've ever pulled a thread and unraveled and unraveled and unraveled. That's exactly what you're doing. You're going to unravel the bondage slowly but surely. The more you seek, the more you see. You notice that? The more you seek, the more you dig, the more you find. And pretty soon you'll dig yourself out of the false religions, no matter what it is. And you'll be on the right track. It's designed that way on purpose. Okay, so where were we? This will then lead to a natural evolutionary process. Didn't I just say that? Oh, did I finish that? Will effectively alleviate humanity to experience the real organic timeline initially envisaged to experience its sojourns of life. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. Okay, no. Let me go back. I'm sorry. This, together with the crumbling of the doomsday consciousness reversal mechanism of the negative aliens and the consequent collapse of the AI-triggered energetic parasite implants to aid the process of mind control programming, will effectively alleviate humanity to experience the real organic timeline initially envisaged, I believe, to experience its sojourns of life. All right, now what I want to say about that is all starseeds are incarnated in and were set to or programmed themselves to awaken at a specific time. This is why when you speak to the forerunners, a lot of the forerunners began awakening around 2012. We set our alarm clock to wake up around the same time. We the forerunners. Now, one of the things that I had to go through was having a parasitic implant removed from my body. Now, if you watch the Matrix movie, I think it was in Matrix 1, you may have remembered how when he woke up, they had to first remove that parasite that was in his stomach. I had to go through the exact same procedure. It was actually an etheric surgery that happened during my REM state. I was half asleep, half woke. I remember this. I was laying on the sofa. My husband was behind me, sitting at the dining room table, putting a puzzle together. We were listening to some music. I can't remember what my son was doing, maybe playing video games or something. But you know, it was a chill atmosphere, and I was resting, and I was in and out of sleep. You know, you ever been sleep to where you can hear what's going on around you, but you're asleep, so you can't move? That's how I was. And my higher guidance or my divine spirits sent you all have a medical team. All starseeds, you have a medical team, an etheric medical team that will come in and perform these things when it's time. And I never forget, I had been suffering with stomach pain for a long time. I had felt this thing move from, it felt like it was in my bowels, but it felt like it was all I could describe it as would be like a pine cone, like a little pine cone. It felt prickly in my stomach. And no matter what I did, like it would move, and it eventually moved from the bottom right side to like the middle left side. And when I had that surgery, I was partially sleeping. I remember my higher guidance explaining to me that I was going to have a surgery, and I felt a twisting. I felt a twisting in my stomach. It was so odd. It was almost painful, but I remember in my mind thinking that it was not like a detrimental pain. It wasn't a bad pain. It was a pain that was helping me. I don't know how I knew that, but I did. I knew it, and I remember it wrenching. I felt somebody reaching in my stomach. I'm telling y'all the God honest truth. Reaching in my stomach, and I felt pressure, like somebody pushing on my stomach, reaching in my stomach, and all of a sudden the pressure was relieved, and I turned over and went to sleep, fell into a deep sleep, and when I woke up, I have never had that pain again. That was a parasitic implant. I was being tracked because I'm an RH negative starseed, a celestial starseed. We are tracked, whether you realize it or not. We are tracked because they want to keep a handle on us, because they are aware of what our mission is here. They don't necessarily know who we all are, but that's one of the reasons why the bloodline was removed off of the birth certificates around the same time that starseeds began to incarnate. Okay. And as I mentioned in the other video, all of this happened around the same time they implemented Roe versus Wade, where they gave women authority and permission to have abortions. Just, It was just a free-for-all. They knew that they were killing the starseeds and the ancestors that were incarnating back in to help. All right. And as such, a feat, hold on, make sure. Okay, this will then lead to a natural evolutionary process in which humanity will have a chance to effectively expand its consciousness through attaining spiritual enlightenment via properly experiencing its life sojourns. And such a feat is effectuated through the restoration of the provisions of the law of one in one's reality, to be facilitated by a process of morphogenic rehabilitation in which the frequency fences instated in humanity's bioenergetic field are removed or deactivated. Now, y'all remember some of my ascension work was to cleanse the morphogenic field. Y'all remember that? I was given some frequencies to cleanse the morphogenic field, and that was necessary. This gives the opportunity for the human bioenergetic chakras to naturally open and activate, triggering the realignment and reconnection and reactivation of humanity's dormant DNA strands to give access to the wealth of information encoded within, founded on the cosmic sovereign law of one. And this will in turn upshift the frequency of consciousness well above the requisite levels to effect ascension to the higher dimensions. Such a morphogenic structure is then in line with the original Christos template, which epitomizes the original design of humans having a 12-strand silicate DNA crystalline structure. Note that humanity has been in the unconscious sleeper status for many millennia, literally not being aware of what is transpiring before its very eyes, or he put nose, but eyes. Thus, through an awakening process, humanity first needed to be apprised of the whole scenario of unconsciousness enslavement, together with the concept of futile, forced reincarnation it had been subject to for a millennia. This also entailed becoming aware of the reality of planetary domination by the negative aliens, also entailing their nefarious agendas as abductions, hybridizations, etc. And they say that the history is always written by the victors. Thus, it is not surprising that there is really no readily records of such abductions, genetic experimentations available, but perhaps accounts by certain real abductee victims and such, which are readily dismissed and invalidated by the traitor shadow government officials and the puppets of the negative aliens, whose primary purpose is to uphold their interest on the planet. Furthermore, both the military-industrial complex and the shadow government, under the guise of homeland security and such, commonly use negative aliens' blank slate technology to wipe the consciousness memories of its operatives and everyone else they deem necessary. The same type of technology is also used in order to wipe out the genetic memories of individuals prior to their reincarnation, plus addition of frequency fences and various implants every chance they get. So this touches back to what I was informing you about, the implants of the starseeds and why they track us, because they want to keep you asleep. They don't want you to wake up. They implant these things to wipe out your memory so that you forget what your mission is. You come in here and usually they'll send in decoys. They'll send in people who will get you off your game. They will try to get you addicted to drugs. They'll try to get you. Everybody is an enemy to a starseed when you incarnate in. That's one of the most important things that you have to remember. There is no friends in this simulation when you're a starseed. There are no friends. There are no allies to a certain degree. Until you reach a certain consciousness level where you realize that you need to be looking for the other ones who are like you and what that entails. There are people who will say, oh, I'm not RH negative, but I'm still on the mission and I can work with you. I had an alpha, a master, well, I won't say master, I'm going to say one of the highest alpha draconians, tell me. Find your bloodline. You find your blood type tribe. Those are the ones who are going to work with you, because the other ones will be easily manipulated, easily swayed off the task, off the mission. And that's what I have experienced, in the past. That's what I've experienced. And that's not saying anything bad about anybody, but the ones who are on the, like, it's hard to find people who you resonate with, but if you find your blood type tribe, there's no guessing. They're going to understand the mission already. You don't have to brief. You don't have to prep anybody. They're already ready. And this is how you can bypass a lot of the taking 2 steps ahead, 5 steps back. That's what I constantly been doing. 2 steps ahead, 5 steps back. 2 steps ahead, 5 steps back. Never really making headway. So a starseed typically will move alone, or if they find 1 or 2 individuals that match their frequency resonance, they'll rock with them and rock with them in private, and that's necessary. I'm telling anybody who's a starseed, that's a word of wisdom to you, so you don't have to try and figure it out. Take years to figure that shit out on your own. Find your bloodline tribe. Okay. Thus, effectively, very little viable evidence, information, and particularly details of operations are available for the starseeds, whose primary mission is to gather intel as to the common cases of abductions, genetic experimentations, mutilations, hybridizations, schemes, etc., which are commonly transpiring on the planet. I remember telling people, I said, my personal mission is to gather names. I turn in names. People thought I was lying. They thought I'd be on here flexing. I don't. I turn in names. When we deal with particular individuals and we're talking about a specific thing, the responses that we get, especially if you are adamant in your ignorance, those names get turned in for a reason. It's not to mark you for annihilation, but it's to mark you for testing and for separation. And that's a part of my job, okay? Because what we have to do when you look at a starseed, and as I mentioned before, you can see us as antibodies. When I identify somebody who is against the planet, the planetary ascension, when I identify somebody who's in the lower frequency vibration and wants to continue to hold that frequency, we have to mark you for separation. You have to be removed out of here so that we can hold a frequency and raise the frequency of the planet. Otherwise, you staying around is a detriment to the planet's progress, is a detriment to humanity's progress. So you are essentially marked for removal. Okay? So as a result, they had to submit to be abducted by the negative aliens or shadow government to be a witness to such proceedings in order to be able to relay the information to the consortium of higher and trans-dimensional beings who are commonly aiding humanity with the process of ascension. Now that is a true sacrifice. I was speaking to a goddess the other day, and I don't know if she believed it or not. Maybe not. I don't know. But we were having a discussion about the children and the children being trafficked and how the babies were being harmed. And I gave some insider information, and I let her know that in this simulation, no babies were harmed. And I know that's like a jaw dropper. Everybody like, what? Because all we have been talking about is the children, the children, the children. Well, the first thing to remember is we are in a holographic simulation. It is a simulation. It is an illusion. But when the starseeds and all of these other benevolent entities knew that we were incarnating in, we began incarnating in and taking the consciousness of the babies, removing the babies and replacing ourselves with those babies. So just like I explained, starseeds have been incarnating in for the last almost 100 years. If starseeds have been incarnating in, no babies, no real human babies have been harmed. Starseeds have been harmed. Now, as I move forward, it's going to give a little bit more insight into why this was necessary. This was necessary because all the children who had been harmed either were dying and we could not get intel, or they would get up to a certain age and their minds would be wiped to where we could not identify who the perpetrators were. So we had to actually come in, incarnate in as these individuals who were being trafficked, who were being sexually, ritually abused, sadistically, ritually abused. We incarnated in. That has been the starseeds that have been dying at the hands of the nefarious negative alien agenda for the last 100 years. Okay, so no babies were harmed, because when an infant, I did a posting on this, a video on this actually a couple of years ago in a Patreon, where I informed that when a child is put in a certain situation, and source or the benevolence that watch over these infants know that they're being put in a detrimental situation, the consciousness of that child is switched out. The consciousness of that child is switched out, and it is replaced with the consciousness of source. Okay? Source creator. That child does not experience the harm that you think they experience. That child does not experience the harm that you think they experience, but we needed humanity to first off think that this was happening, because number one, we need that compassion element, because remember, we are putting individuals where they need to be, okay, vibrationally. So it's not as though it was a trick, because these things have happened in the past. But what I'm saying is, now that you all are aware of what's going on, your heart aches. I know I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep one time for 2 weeks because I found out what was happening to these little ones. But that was necessary because I had to transmute that darkness, like I mentioned in the other video. We had to transmute that darkness, but the starseeds incarnated in so that they can find out exactly who was doing this to these children. Okay? So, now that's a true sacrifice, a true self-sacrifice, plus the fact that the starseeds often find the condition of life under the phantom timeline or the matrix of the 3D duality of Earth quite questionable and distressing, which we do. It's terrible here. This place is, you often hear me talk about, it's clown world. This is an insane asylum. Like, it's insane. If you knew what was outside of the earth, you would see that this is a hellhole, and it stinks. Okay? Yet, they need to learn to cope with all the atrocities that the negative aliens have imposed on our holographic reality. Exactly. So we had to come in here, we had to learn everything as if we were human, go through everything, and all of this is actually being reported out. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we never felt like we fit, because we didn't. However, on a positive note, some find the incredible diversity that Earth provides, such as the flora and fauna, the choice of foods, the colorful lifestyles, by way of having some choices for almost everything, a highly materialistic trend, quite amusing, as they are mostly accustomed to simplicity, which is actually to be preferred on their home planet. So anyway, we get to come down here and experience a whole lot of choices, as it said, a lot of choices. And some get so much derailed from their initial intent and mission as to help Earth and humanity with ascension, that they get mesmerized by diversity, opulence, and careless indulgence in sexual promiscuities, partying, escapades, drugs, etc., that they do not become awakened to the cause that they signed up for in the first place by incarnating here. And I have run into a lot of those starseeds. I mentioned the other day, just because you are a starseed does not give you a absolute ticket up out of here. There are many starseeds who have gotten caught. As a matter of fact, that's why the starseeds and reinforcement have come this time in droves, because there have been numerous starseeds that have incarnated in and got stuck. They have been tricked and trapped up in here and haven't been able to get out. They were supposed to incarnate in and ascend out, and they haven't been able to. As a matter of fact, Yeshua was one. Akhenaten was another. You'll hear them mentioning here that Melchizedek was one. Well, actually, was Melchizedek fell, I believe. There was a group of Melchizedeks that actually fell in here, got caught up and in some traps, ego traps. So there's a lot of different things that play, but that is why starseeds have come this time with an overwhelming amount of reinforcements to prevent that, because we're actually coming in to not only help humanity and Gaia, but we're coming in trying to help our sleep brethren who are stuck. And it's sad when I meet somebody who I know is a starseed and they cannot get themselves untangled from the trap of the negative ego. The negative ego is one of the most stickiest traps, because it is a self-sabotaging trap. And it's a mind game. It's a mind game, and you have to win at the mind in order. It's a mind fuck, really it is. And you have to win at that in order to get out, to get yourself free. So note that to be here. Okay, so hold on. Where am I? Okay, some get derailed from their initial intent and mission. They get caught up in the partying. They do not become awakened. Okay, note that to be here, they had to incarnate into bodies, just like all earth seeds. Like I said before, incarnate. You had to be born in. You had to start out as a baby. There are walk-ins here now. Those are some of the reinforcements, but the original starseeds incarnated and had to be born into a body and grow up as a baby into an adult. Ain't that something? This means carrying the same frequency fences and being subject to the same holographic inserts and energetic parasitic infestations that the Earthseeds experience. In this respect, some of the starseeds that incarnated here shortly after 1987 are still asleep. They're still in slumber, experiencing the same sexual misery and different addictions and other self-destructive behaviors that humanity has been subject to for millennia. Now, I'm going to wrap it up here because we're at a good 45 minutes. We're at 43 minutes, almost 45. The ones who incarnated after 1987, think about who that is right now. Think about who those individuals are right now. All of these people after 87 are still asleep. The very ones who think they're woke are in what we discussed earlier, which is this holographic false timeline, where they think they're awake, but they're really not awake. They're caught up in sexual misery. All of this, I was talking to somebody the other day about the hookup culture and how the sexual promiscuity is running rampant, and everybody just doing all of this lascivious and hedonistic activity. As a lot of starseeds are caught up in that. It's a lot of starseeds caught up in the lust and all of that stuff that's presented to them. And right now, they are the younger generation that is out here wilding out. So Don't know what to say about that, but hopefully they'll wake up in time. If not, they'll be caught up in it, and I don't know. I haven't been briefed yet on if there is a plan to actually get them out. I don't know if they're going to go down with the ship. I don't know. But they are still asleep, so hopefully there is something that will happen that will awaken them in time. But anyway, with that being said, let's wrap it up because we're at 45 minutes. I will be back shortly with part 3 of who are the starseeds, the real ones, the real celestial starseeds. Peace, love, and bliss, and Divine Naga.